Welcome back. It's time for the micros now, and the research team is standing by. Let me first get to the most important story of the morning. Nimesh is standing by to fill us up on everything that happened on the Adani Enterprises FPO. Go ahead, Nimesh.
Hi, Lata. So as far as the Adani Enterprise FPO is concerned, the board last night decided to withdraw the entire FPO issue, which was fully subscribed the previous day. Now, the official release very clearly says that given the unprecedented situation and current market volatility, the company aims to protect the investors' interest, and hence they're returning the FPO proceeds and they're withdrawing the FPO. Remember, the stock yesterday fell 30% intraday, and it actually ended 30% lower. And the entire FPO was priced at 3276, and intraday yesterday the stock fell all the way up to 2100 level. So that was the key reason why the board and Gautam Adani decided to withdraw the FPO, and they're returning the money back to the investors. So that's a bit on Adani Enterprises. There is also a separate release on Ambuja Cement and ACC regarding the concerns on pledge shares. For that, they very clearly clarified that none of the shares of ACC or Ambuja are pledged by the promoters. In fact, the promoters have only provided a non-disposable undertaking, and accordingly, there is no need to have any other top-up of shares or top-up of cash with regards to the pledge for ACC and Ambuja. So none of the institutions can sell any shares of these two companies, and there is no technical pledge either on ACC or on Ambuja.
Okay, all right. Thanks a lot for that, Nimesh. Well, Mangalam joins us to tell us about Britannia's numbers. Mangalam, how were they?
Well, irrespective of the way the markets go today, one stock which may have a good day is Britannia, and that's because the margins of the company have been near record high. If you just take a look at the company's revenues, a 17% jump out there, largely in line with what the street was anticipating, but the EBITDA actually jumped by 51%, much ahead of street expectations, and that was largely led by improvement in gross margins. So the margins of the company have come in at 19.5%. The street was working with a number of just around 16.1%. On the bottom line, there was a big exceptional of 375 crores. So, as a result of which the net profit was 932 crores versus expectations of 465 crores. Gross margins of the company are 570 basis points. What does the company attribute this to? They say that this has been on account of their opportunistic buying and moderation in margin improvement. The new business of the company did extremely well, and for the volumes, while the overall volumes grew by just 1% below street expectations, the number of packets sold was higher by 17%. The reason why overall volumes were just 1%, because remember, the biscuits got smaller.
Okay, that's important. Volumes didn't do too well. One could read some, perhaps, tea leaves of urban and rural demand not being that strong. Okay, Rima, Ashok Leyland, she's standing in, of course, for Sonia.
Well, Ashok Leyland has actually reported a good set of earnings. The revenue growth is at 63%. Margins have expanded to 8.8%, which compares with 3.8% a year ago. And that's driving the company to report a profit of 363 crore. So earnings are very strong. On January sales, the total sales are also looking up, 23% growth on a year-on-year basis. And it's driven by a combination of strong MHCV and LCV sales. So going with green for Ashok Leyland today.
Okay, all right. Thanks a lot for that, Rima. Well, Abhishek joins us to tell us about IDFC and IDFC First Bank. Abhishek, they've declared a dividend. They're also putting more money in IDFC First Bank. What's your take?
Well, Nigel, to begin with, IDFC Limited had received a sum for the stake that they sold in their AMC business, which is about 4,000 crore. So from this, they are now going to give a dividend of about 1,760 crores, which is about 11 rupees per share in terms of the translation. So company will also invest about 2,200 crore in IDFC First Bank. So remember that they have a stake of about 36.38%. They can take it to up to about 40%. So there is a gap of about 3.62%, for which they will infuse about 2,200 crores. Back to you.
Okay, thanks a lot for that. Rima, we're getting back to you. There are some more auto sales numbers of January that we are getting in.
Yes, so let me start with Hero MotoCorp, where the sales were a miss. Sales have declined by 6.3% on a year-on-year basis. And for the month of January, the sales have come in at 3.56 lakh units, which is sub 4 lakh for the third consecutive month. But on the flip side, Eicher Motors has reported a good set of Royal Enfield numbers. Year-on-year, Royal Enfield sales up 27%, and month-on-month, there is an expansion or growth of 9.2%. So looking good for the Royal Enfield sales, which should do well for Eicher Motors today. Back to you.
Sonal also joins us. Sonal, tell us about Tata Chemicals. How are those set of numbers?
Well, they were decent, Nigel. Slightly lower than Kotak estimates, but nothing to complain about, at least in the overall numbers. There was weakness in the specialty business this time around. So revenues are up 32% on a YY basis, EBITDA up 69%, margins at 22.2% versus an estimate of 23.9%. Profits also are up 27% on a YY basis. However, they declined on a quarter-on-quarter basis by 37%. That is because they had a loss on one of their joint ventures versus profit in the quarter gone by. The basic chemistry business did well. Revenues were up 42% YOY, 17% sequentially. EBIT margins also up 150 basis points at 21.4%. However, it was the specialty business that saw some headwinds. So revenues were down 32% sequentially. EBIT margins, they declined 700 basis points on a quarter-on-quarter basis. The company says, yes, there were headwinds with respect to raw material prices, but now they have stabilized.
Okay, thanks a lot for that. And some more stocks that we have to watch from Ekta. Ajanta Pharma in particular, Ekta.
Yes, thanks for that. Well, for Ajanta Pharma, it was a mixed set of numbers, but I think it's the margins which will weigh down. So the revenue was up 16%. India was a strong growth of around 13% US was up 61% year on year, but the margins came down to 17% versus 28.6% year on year and versus 21% on a Q-on-Q basis. Profit was dragged down because of that. So it was down 13% on a year on year basis. Margins will equal to possibly red on the stock for Ajanta Pharma. UTI AMC, revenue down 32% Q-on-Q. Operating profit before tax was down 60%. Margins also depleted for the company this quarter, and the profit was down sharply on a Q-on-Q basis. Mutual fund yields came down to around 0.49%, so possibly a bit of red on that one as well this morning.
Yeah. Well, possible, Ekta, but actually on the flip side, the gainers from those who would have invested in the insurance products could be the mutual funds. Yeah. When on a rebound, they would perhaps invest in mutual funds. Okay, but now for the big cues coming from the commodity space, Manisha Gupta joins in. Manisha, are you watching the fall in crude price?
I am, yes. And the dollar falling to a 9-month low clearly has been supportive for various commodities. And that's the reason we've seen a bit of a turnaround come in for the crude as well right now. But yes, after 3% of a decline overnight, 0.5 to 1% of gain is what we are looking at in the markets. This is because higher than expected U.S. inventories build-up is what we saw at 4.14 million. Markets were anticipating a number of 500,000 onto this one. Also, the OPEC and Allies meeting, which was yesterday, has kept the crude production steady. And then the markets are showing December and Jan as high Russia crude export numbers, even as the sanctions were put on, and that continues to keep the prices under pressure here. So it's just about holding $83 per barrel into the international markets there. But it's a big gain that we've seen in the metal sector. So the precious metal prices have run up. Gold prices have surged past $1,950 per ounce. You have the Indian gold prices, which are hitting at an all-time high, and the industrial metal prices also are on a gain. So whether you look at aluminum prices, which are trading at an 8-month high, copper is back at 7-month highs, nickel has surged above $30,000 per ton. So that's a May 2022 high as well. So the base metals and the precious metal prices really are the gainers for the day.
All right. Thank you very much. Good list of gainers as well there, Manisha. We have to take a break.